from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome to another portion of our food storage prepping in the garden series. Now today we're going to talk about corn. Now that's a tricky one, honestly, because corn requires a lot more land for a smaller harvest. It also requires a lot more labor-intensive gardening. It is a heavy feeder. So I do want to preface this by saying that growing corn is not necessarily the best for food storage, but it is such a versatile crop once you harvest it that we did want to include it in our series of food storage prepping in the garden. So first, let's start by talking about the different types of corn. We've already discussed that in a previous video, which I will link down in the description section of this video, about the different types of heirloom seeds or heirloom corn. The most popular is going to be sweet corn, and that's not what we're going to talk about today, because sweet corn requires canning for long-term preservation or freezing, whereas some of the varieties I'm going to discuss only really require drying and storing. So we're going to talk about those first, and that's going to be popcorn, flint corn, flour corn, also called field corn in some cases. So we're going to talk about the varieties that are a lot easier to store. In the beginning of my series, I really wanted to discuss varieties that don't require a lot of labor-intensive preservation methods. So most of these aren't going to really include canning in the beginning or freeze drying or even a dehydrator. So let's talk about corn. First of all, if you are growing corn, I do want to also add a little disclaimer here, or whatever you want to call it. If you have a small area of space that you're going to plant corn, which I will show you in just a second, you don't really want to plant long rows or a single long row. Corn is wind pollinated, so you really need to cluster those and put them in a square or a circle or a clump, for lack of a better word, or a cluster of corn, because you're going to want those corn stalks to be close together. So I'm going to show you probably the closest crop we have of corn growing to where we're filming this video, and that is one of our Three Sisters garden beds. Let's go ahead and check it out. Here's our corn. You can see that it is planted very close together, and there are not a lot of stalks here. We had a little chicken invasion, but you can see here that we planted them pretty thick. We'll see if we can get one on the ground here. Planted them pretty close together so that we get a really good harvest. All right, now that you've seen our short little clump, or our small clump of corn we're growing in one of our Three Sisters garden beds, we're going to talk about different types of corn. Now the first one I have here, this one is Hopi blue corn. If you've ever eaten blue corn chips or blue corn tortillas, if it was natural, chances are it was made out of blue corn. I say natural, and if they didn't use food coloring in it, blue corn is an excellent option for cornmeal. So if you want to make things cornbread, corn tortillas, blue corn is an excellent option. This one in particular is called Hopi blue corn, and this is a very old heirloom variety of blue corn. So it is simple as grow your corn, allow it to fully dry on the plant, harvest it, allow it to dry some more, and then take it off your stalk, or you can even store it on the stalk, but I prefer to put it in a glass jar. Now, I'm not really going to get into full details of how to grow, save, and store your seeds, because in the description section of this video, I have 3 videos in particular that I'm going to refer back to during the video. The first is, I already mentioned, and that is our different types of heirloom corn varieties. The second one is tips on growing and harvesting glass gem corn, which I'll show you in just a second. And the third is popping our glass gem corn, and all those videos are in the description section of this video. Now, let's start with glass gem corn. I already mentioned earlier in the video. Now, glass gem corn is one that I have shown multiple times, and I constantly get questions from our customers. How does it taste? How do you prepare it? Can I eat it right off the stalk? Glass gem corn is a popping corn. It can also be used as a flour corn, but it is most popular as a popping corn. So that's why I'm going to share the video in the description of this video of our popping. You can actually pop it in a microwave or on the stove if you have cast iron pans. In the video, I used an air popper. That is probably the easiest way to do it. I don't like to use a microwave if I don't have to. So there's always another option for you. You don't have to nuke it. Plus, popping fresh corn with an air popper is awesome. I also have a video on seed saving for glass gem corn, and it is so easy. I'll link that one in the description section as well. So that's actually 4 videos we're going to share with you. Glass gem corn is super popular. It is a very old Native American variety, and I highly recommend it if you want to add some color to your garden. It's considered an ornamental, but as we mentioned in our video, it's ornamental. Just because it's stated that it's ornamental doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't edible. Next, we have strawberry popcorn. This is one of my coolest crops I've grown as well. Probably second to the glass gem corn. And strawberry popcorn, I don't have one to show you as an example, just the seed pack today. But strawberry popcorn grows in little teeny ears similar to what looks like a strawberry almost, and they are so beautiful and so easy to grow. And now lastly, on my table here, we do carry quite a few varieties of heirloom corn, is Mandan Bride corn. Now, Mandan Bride corn is an excellent Native American variety for flour. So if you're looking to grow some of your own crops that you're going to be using on a regular basis on your homestead, flour corn is an excellent option. Now, some of these don't necessarily have to be for human consumption. They can actually be for animal feed as well, which is definitely a plus. If you're trying to, what they say is close the loop, if you're trying to grow and harvest and store your own, instead of having to be dependent on the grocery store or the feed store, growing your own corn is definitely a plus. Mandan Bride corn is another excellent heirloom variety with a very rich history. You'll find more of that information on our website. Again, in the description section of this video, you will find a link to all of our different heirloom corn varieties. This one is just so beautiful. There's so many different colors. I hope that comes out when I show it to you. There's so many different beautiful colors. Now, let's talk about corn. Heirloom corn grown from seed takes anywhere from 90 to 110 days. It is wind pollinated, as I mentioned, so you're going to want to make sure that you grow it in clusters, unless you have a large amount of space and then you can grow long rows. It is definitely a heavy feeder, so it's going to need regular feed, unless you have very healthy, nutrient-dense soil. If you've got animals on your homestead, that's definitely going to be a plus. You can mend with some of that manure. And sweet corn, as I mentioned in previous videos, sweet corn is harvested when your husk is still green, whereas these varieties of corn that are better for long-term food storage, or even just food storage in general, they can be harvested when the husk is more dry and more papery, such as this glass gem corn you see here. And it stores, like I said, you can store it just like this on the ear. You can store it in a jar. Pretty easy and pretty simple. These types of corn that I've mentioned here, and quite a few available on our website, like I said, do not require labor-intensive preservation methods. So if you want to can sweet corn, that's going to be a whole nother story. If you want to can dry corn, so easy. You just put it in a jar. You don't actually have to do any type of oven canning. or freezing or water bath or pressure canning. It's pretty simple stuff. So I hope you enjoyed another part of our series for food storage, prepping in the garden. I'm Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. If you have any questions, please feel free to send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. Subscribe to our videos if you haven't already. Hit that like button for the video. We always appreciate that. And check out our website, which is marysheirloomseeds.com. Thanks for joining me for another episode, and happy planting.